At a glittering Christmas gala, my billionaire son raised a glass and bragged to a cheering crowd that he gifted me $800,000 a month to live like a king while I stood there drowning in shame, knowing I survived on canned beans and midnight warehouse shifts. The gut-punch betrayal that hid a sinister web of lies was about to unravel, and I'd make sure the truth hit harder than their champagne toasts. If this injustice sparks your rage smash, then like, share this shocker, and subscribe for raw stories of fighting back. Here's how that night set me on a path to expose the ugliest secret my family kept. I'm Jonathan Hale, 7 years old, and if you'd told me a year ago I'd be spilling my guts like this, I'd have laughed it off and gone back to mopping warehouse floors. Life's got a way of kicking you in the teeth, then handing you a mirror to see the damage. Let me take you back to where it started, to a time when I thought family was something solid, unbreakable. Years back, I was just a regular guy trying to hold it together after my wife Sarah passed away from cancer. Alexander was only 6, and it hit us hard, me especially raising him alone on a construction worker's paycheck. I sold our little house in Dallas to cover his college dreams, the Ivy League kind he talked about non-stop. Worked double shifts, even after a forklift accident wrecked my back one rainy night. Couldn't afford to sit out. Bills don't wait. I'd take him to this open field near our old place. Just us two flying a kite I rigged up from scrap wood and string. Fly high, son, I'd tell him, but don't forget your roots. He'd grin, tugging that line like he could pull the sky down, and those moments kept me going. I figured all the pain was worth it if he turned out okay. Fast forward, and here I am at 57, scraping by in a rundown Dallas apartment. Thin walls that let in every neighbor's argument, a fridge stocked with more water jugs than actual food, and a beat-up Ford that coughs like it's got a cold it can't shake. Nights I clean warehouses, mopping endless floors under buzzing lights till my back screams for mercy. Days I stock shelves at the grocery store facing cans like it's some kind of art. Dinner. Usually beans from a can, maybe scrambled eggs if I splurge. Every buck's a tightrope walk, rent or electric gas or groceries, pick your poison. I don't whine about it. It's just how things shook out. But in quiet moments, I'd replay those kite days, wondering if Alexander remembered the roots I'd drilled into him. Then came that Christmas gala. The kind of invite that felt more like a summons from my son, now a hotshot real estate tycoon with his name in the papers. I didn't own a suit, so I borrowed one from my neighbor Pete Sleeves, hanging too long, collar-pinching like it wanted to choke me out. Showed up anyway, figuring it'd be good to see Alexander shine. The ballroom was straight out of a magazine, crystal chandeliers, throwing light everywhere, marble floors, slick under my scuffed shoes, folks in fancy gowns clinking glasses that probably cost more than my rent. The air smelled like money-expensive cologne, mixed with champagne bubbles. I stuck to the edges, my hands still carrying that faint bleach stink from my last shift, feeling like a bum who'd wandered in off the street. Alexander climbed the stage tuck's perfect voice, booming with that confidence he'd built on my back. He raised his glass and said it, "I give my dad $800,000 a month so he can live in comfort after all his sacrifices." The room erupted claps, nods, admiring murmurs. Me, I froze solid. $8,000. I'm counting quarters for laundry, dodging shut-off notices, and he's painting me like some pampered retiree. My heart hammered, blood rushing in my ears louder than their applause. I glanced at him, his arm slung over my shoulder like we were buddies, but his eyes, no warmth, just a slick politician's gleam like he was selling a story, and I was the prop. Then I caught Victoria, his wife, staring right at me. Her smile was all teeth sharp and cold, like she knew I'd swallow the lie. No pity, no guilt, just a triumphant spark, daring me to blow it up. She'd always been the calculator in their marriage, ambitious as hell, turning everything into a move on some invisible chessboard. I slipped out early, the December chill slapping my face as I headed to my car. The Ford rattled over potholes heater, barely whispering warm air. Alexander's words echoed in my head, that fake generosity, Victoria's smirk slicing deeper than the cold. It wasn't just a fib, it was robbery, stealing my story to polish theirs. I thought of the boy who'd clutched his college letter eyes, full of dreams I'd bled for. Where'd he go? And Victoria, she wasn't innocent. Her eyes said she'd scripted this whole damn show. Back in my apartment, the silence hit like a wall. Bills mocked me from the table, electric overdue, rent breathing down my neck. My phone buzzed, unknown number. Keep your mouth shut if you want to stay safe. My gut twisted, a chill running down my spine. Who sent that? I peeked out the window. Sure enough, a car idled across the street, headlights off, engine humming low. My hands shook as I gripped the curtain, but something else kicked in, anger, steady and burning, the kind that says, enough is enough. I grabbed an old notebook from the drawer, the one I used for shopping lists, and started jotting it down, date time. Alexander's exact words. Victoria's look, that creepy text. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, a way to make sense of the mess. I wasn't some forgetful old fool they could brush off. I'd scraped by on pennies my whole life. I could scrape together the truth. My mind kept drifting to that kite, the strings snapping in a gust, and I whispered to myself, where the hell did all that money really go? Outside, the car revved once and pulled away, leaving the night too quiet. But me, I wasn't sleeping easy anymore. That morning after the party, I woke up with a headache pounding like a jackhammer, even though I hadn't had a sip of booze. The notebook was right where I'd left it on the nightstand, scribbled with last night's mess. Alexander's big lie, Victoria's smug grin, that creepy text. Where the hell did all that money go? I grumbled to myself, grabbing my phone off the charger. The app loaded slow, like it knew I wasn't gonna like what I saw. I scrolled through my transactions, rent, cleared a couple bucks for gas, that electric bill I'd scraped together last week. Zilch from Alexander. No fat deposit, no $8,000 miracle. My balance sat there mocking me, barely in the black. It felt like a slap, not just no money, but like I'd been wiped clean from his life, reduced to a punchline in his fancy world. I flashed back to his last birthday, the one he almost blew off. Showed up late, blaming a big meeting, eyes red, like he'd pulled an all-nighter, hands a little shaky when he hugged me. I'd let it slide, then figured it was the stress of being a big shot. Now it bugged me like a loose thread I couldn't ignore. What if those meetings were covering something uglier? My stomach knotted up, a mix of hurt, and that slow burn anger starting to simmer. Alexander had always chased the spotlight. But Victoria, she was the puppet master, cold and calculating, turning every family moment into a chess move. I couldn't just stew in it. I headed to the public library, the one spot where a guy like me could dig without dropping a dime. It smelled like old books and stale coffee, the kind of quiet that lets your thoughts echo. I plopped down at a computer terminal, feeling out of my depth. Hell, I still hunt and peck on the keyboard. Punched in elder financial abuse, Texas, and nothing. Hit the wrong key, landed on some recipe site for chili. Damn it, Johnny, focus, I muttered, starting over. A few tries later, I got it right. Pages loaded up about claiming dependents for tax dodges, fake support payments that never hit the bank, trusts that were smoke and mirrors. In Texas, if you're my age and someone's pulling that crap, It's straight-up abuse. Elder abuse. The words jumped out at me, fraud. If the money's claimed but never sent. My pulse picked up. Could Alexander be writing me off as a tax break? While I scraped by, Victoria's face popped in my head again. That sharp smile, like she was always 3 steps ahead. She'd be the one crunching those numbers, no doubt seeing me as dead weight to exploit. But reading that stuff lit a fire under me, a cold, steady one. No more being the quiet dad who takes it on the chin. As I dug deeper, I tried a bill search, typing in bits from Alexander's company. Boom. A downtown condo popped up, bought cash, no mortgage under ST Holdings. ST. Sophia Torres, Victoria's maiden name before she hooked Alexander. My hands went clammy. What the hell was this? Not some coincidence. It screamed setup. Why hide money there? My mind raced to dark places, laundering, dodging taxes. Victoria's ambition flashed again. Her eyes, always calculating like she'd sell her soul for another rung on the ladder. But me, I felt like a fool who'd just woken up, that anger turning into something sharper like resolve. Gokre by Quen, I thought, echoing those kite days. If they'd uprooted me, I'd dig them up. On the drive home, my phone rang, unknown caller. I pulled over in a strip mall lot, heart thumping. Hello? A voice crackled through warped like it was run through a machine. You think you're smart, old man? Keep digging, and you'll regret it. The line went dead. My grip tightened on the wheel, sweat beading on my forehead. Was that Victoria? It had her bite that icy edge she hid behind smiles. I scanned the rear view, nothing obvious, but my nerves were shot. This wasn't just words anymore. It felt like a real threat, them circling to shut me down. Shaking it off best I could, I fiddled with my phone, trying to get the voice recorder app working. First go, screwed it up, hit play. Instead of record, replayed some old voicemail from Pete. Come on, you relic. I chuckled to myself, deleting and retrying. Couple more fumbles and I got a clean test. My voice steady, saying the date and time. Not perfect, but it was mine, a tool to fight back. No more playing the victim. I'd outsmart them at their own game. That cold fury. It was fueling me now, turning doubt into drive. Just as I pocketed the phone, I heard an engine idling low outside my building. I peeked through the blinds, a dark sedan across the street. No lights, just waiting. My pulse spiked. Who the hell were they? Panic hit. But so did that new resolve. I scrolled to Clara's number from work. She's the sharp one, always spotting the BS in people's stories. Time to loop someone in, I whispered, hitting dial. As it rang, I felt the fear mix with a spark of hope. This fight wasn't solo anymore. That call to Clara. It went straight to voicemail at first, figures she was probably elbow-deep in stocking shelves. I left a message, keeping it vague. Hey, it's Johnny. Got something weird going on. Need your take. Call me back. My voice came out steadier than I felt, but inside I was unraveling. That distorted call kept replaying in my head. Keep digging, and you'll regret it. Regret. What my life was already a grind. What more could they take? I paced the apartment. The creaky floorboards mocking my nerves, flashing back to Alexander as a kid, tugging that kite string. He'd promised to take care of me someday. Now, it felt like he'd cut the line with Victoria holding the scissors. Her type, ambitious, always scheming, didn't just climb ladders. She built them on other people's backs. Clara buzzed back within the hour, her voice cutting through the static like a lifeline. Johnny, what's up? You sound like you've seen a ghost. I laid it all out. The party lie. The missing money, that warped threat, the car lurking. She didn't cut me off. just listened, and when I wrapped up, she let out a sigh that said she'd been there. Sounds like a raw deal, man. Swing by the store after my shift, we'll hash it out. I headed over, weaving through the afternoon crowd, my back throbbing from last night's mop marathon. Clara was in the break room, red glasses perched low, my printed bills spread out like a puzzle. She's in her 50s, tough as nails from years of retail wars, but with a soft spot for folks getting screwed. "Sit," she said, shoving a lukewarm coffee my way. "I've seen this garbage before with my own dad." As she scanned the papers, Clara opened up about her old man, a factory worker who'd trusted his brother-in-law with his savings for a can't-miss flip house deal. Turned out to be a con. The guy skipped town, leaving her dad broke and bitter. Broke his trust more than his wallet, she said, her voice dropping low. I waited too long to jump in, regret it every day. Dug through his junk drawer for receipts, fought like hell to claw some back, but the damage was done. He never looked at family the same. Her eyes misted up, and it hit me. We were cut from the same cloth, grinding through life, watching loved ones turn into strangers. It wasn't pity. It was real talk, the kind that bonds you quick. She tapped the bills. "Look here, transfers bouncing like pinballs landing in ST Holdings Classic, wash job laundering cash through a fake fund to dodge taxes or hide assets. They're claiming it's for you, but it's padding their pockets." My fists clenched ST for Sofia Torres, Victoria's old name. No doubt she was the brains cold and efficient, muttering orders while burning evidence. Clara's breakdown lit a fire in me. She wasn't just pointing fingers, she was handing me ammo. "You're not going under alone, Johnny," she added, gripping my arm. "We'll sort this." That loneliness I'd been carrying, it cracked open, letting in a sliver of hope. But the rage underneath boiled hotter, thinking of Alexander's little laugh in that field, now drowned out by Victoria's schemes. Riding that wave, I dialed Elena, the housekeeper who'd been with them for years. A quiet woman with a spine of steel, raising her kids on what little they paid. She answered hushed, like she was peeking around corners. "Mr. Hale, everything all right?" I didn't sugarcoat it, the lie at the party, my digging the threats. A long pause. Then she whispered, "I've seen too much." Mrs. Victoria, shredding papers late at night, muttering "old fool" under her breath, like you're some problem to erase. And those checks to S. Torres. That's her maiden name. I snapped a pic once, hid it just in case. My breath caught as the image pinged through $800,000 monthly straight to S. Torres. "Why, tell me," I asked. She hesitated, voice trembling. "Because it's eating at me, Mr. Hale. You're good people and they treat you like dirt, but my job, if they fire me, my kids go hungry." I swallowed hard, promising, "I'll keep you safe, Elena. Your name stays out till we're ready." Her relief was palpable, but so was her fear, motive clear, doing right, despite the risk, while Victoria. She'd crush Elena without blinking, all to protect her polished life. That photo wasn't just evidence. It was a weapon cracking their facade wide open. But as I hung up, buzzed on adrenaline, that low rumble hit again, the engine outside. I glanced out the dark sedan, inching closer, headlights flicking on like eyes, waking up. Panic surged. Were they making a move now? I bolted out the back door, heart slamming against my ribs, ducking into the alley. Footsteps pounded behind. "Hey, stop!" But I didn't turn. The air reeked of garbage and rain-soaked concrete, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I spotted a chain-link gate to the next lot, squeezed through, and jammed a loose cinder block against it to slow them down. Hiding behind a dumpster, the stink of rotting trash hitting my nose, I fumbled for my phone and redialed Clara. "They're chasing me," I hissed when she answered. "Black car alley off my building." She stayed cool. Deep breaths. "Johnny, I'm calling the cops anonymous-like. Get clear and head here." The footsteps rattled the gate, cursed, then faded as sirens wailed in the distance. The car screeched off. I slumped against the wall, sweat stinging my eyes, shaking like a leaf. This was real. Victoria's doing, no question, her cold efficiency turning threats into hunts. Shaken to my core but fired up, I snuck home and dove into my notebook. I logged it all. Clara's breakdown, Elena's photo, that email snippet she'd just forwarded. Use Dad as tax shield, keep it under the radar. My hands didn't tremble anymore, even with the night shift looming like a brick wall. I'd always been the organized type, had to be juggling jobs and scraping by. But this felt different, like proving I wasn't broken. As I wrote memories of little Alexander, hit hard, his laugh in the wind, now twisted by whatever hold Victoria had on him. The loneliness eased with each ally, but the injustice burned brighter. This wasn't survival anymore. It was fight back one detail at a time. Then my phone lit up unknown, but the text attached a cryptic note. "Heard you're onto them. I'm Ethan, ex-accountant for Alexander. Know Victoria's shady past. Call if you want the dirt." My eyes widened. Who was this, and what skeleton was he pulling from the closet? That text from Ethan hit my phone like a lightning bolt right after I'd barely caught my breath from that alley chase. "Heard you're onto them," it read. "I'm Ethan, ex-accountant for Alexander. Know Victoria's shady past. Call if you want the dirt." My fingers froze over the screen. Who was this guy, and why now Clara had mentioned him once, some kid who'd bailed from Alexander's firm, but I'd never met him. "Screw it," I muttered, hitting dial. He answered, fast voice, young but rough, like he'd been hauling a heavy load. "Mr. Hale. Thanks for calling. We gotta meet somewhere quiet. Not safe for phones." We met at a grimy coffee shop off the highway, the kind with sticky tables and a jukebox that hadn't worked in years. Ethan was late 20s, scrawny glasses slipping down his nose, clutching a coffee like it was his anchor. He cut to the chase. "Victoria's not who she plays," he said, leaning close. Before Alexander, she was Sophia Torres in Houston, ran a boutique that was a front for fleecing investors, promised big payouts, drained their accounts, then vanished. I dug up records. She skated because folks were too embarrassed to sue. He slid over printouts, news clips, court papers. Then, the gut punch. Her own dad pulled the same scam on her family when she was a kid, wiped their savings and split. She acts like it broke her, but now she's doing the same damn thing like it's payback on the world. Ethan's jaw tightened. She hooked Alexander early, fed his ego, but she's the one running the show. And his gambling problem? She's got him on a leash with it, casinos online. Bets, big debts. I saw transfers. She funnels company cash to cover his losses, keeps him locked in so he won't question her moves. It hit me, those red eyes, shaky hands, when Alexander blew off my birthday for a meeting. Not work. Addiction. He wasn't just in on it. He was trapped, torn between shame and her grip. Victoria stone cold, using her past as fuel to burn everyone else. No remorse, just pure strategy. Ethan's reason was simple. I quit because I couldn't sleep knowing this. Helping you might fix that. His hands shook slightly, fear mixed with guilt. Me, I was reeling pity for my boy's mess, battling a growing fury at her for twisting him into it. I knew I had to face Alexander. I texted him from a burner app Ethan tipped me off about. Kept it light. "Need to talk, son. Coffee tomorrow." He bit, but his reply was curt, like he smelled trouble. We met at a quiet diner downtown, him in a slick suit, me in my faded flannel. I slid my phone under the table. Hit record, nailed it. This time, no screw-ups. "What's this about, Dad?" he asked, eyes flicking to the door like he was late for something. I didn't flinch. The party lie. The missing money, ST Holdings. His face went pale, but he tried to play it off. "It's complicated, trusts, investments. Victoria handles it." I leaned in, like checks to her old name, or paying off your gambling debts with my support. He froze, then cracked. "She pushed it. The debts stacked up, casino's bad bets. I didn't mean for it to hit you, but she said it was a quick fix just for taxes." His voice broke, hands trembling on his coffee cup. Guilt and fear, plain as day, caught between her control and whatever was left of his conscience. "I love you, Dad, but I'm in too deep." My heart twisted for the kid I'd raised, but this man? He'd picked his side, letting her poison take root. "Love doesn't cover lies, son," I said, voice steady. "Fix it or I will." He nodded, eyes down, broken, but not enough to act. Walking out, I felt a stab of pity but a stronger resolve she wasn't dragging me down with him. Then she upped the ante. That afternoon, my phone pinged a photo from an unknown number, me leaving the diner shot from across the street. Attached note: "Stop now or Tommy's gone for good." Tommy, my 13-year-old grandson, my light in this storm. My hands went ice cold. This wasn't just a threat anymore. It was war targeting my family. Victoria's work, no question her ruthless math turning to terror to keep her empire safe. Fear crashed over me, my mind flashing to Tommy's grin, his questions about kites on our last visit. "They wouldn't dare," I whispered, pacing, sweat beading. But rage burned hotter. How low could she sink, using a kid as a pawn? Her motive screamed panic, a desperate grab to shut me up. No shred of decency left. Then a lifeline, a text from Elena. "Tommy slipped me this for you. He's safe but sneaky, heard his parents fighting." Attached was a note in his messy scrawl. "Grandpa, you're right. I heard Mom say, the old man's digging too deep." Dad sounded scared. "I'm with you. Tommy." My eyes burned, 13 years old, caught in their mess, but brave enough to reach out through Elena. His words turned fear into fire. I'd protect him no matter what. Victoria's cruelty hit like a sledgehammer, dragging a kid into her game cold as a snake. But Tommy's note. It was fuel, a spark of hope in the dark. Shaken but pissed. I turned to my next move, going public but careful. I fired up my laptop, fumbling with that social media site again. First try post got flagged and yanked too vague, or maybe they were watching. "Damn it," I growled, starting over, learning fast, short, sharp. No names, just family lies, money that never arrives. Second post stuck, and comments started rolling in, strangers relating, sharing their own betrayals. It wasn't a wildfire yet, but it was me stepping out of the dark, proving this old dog could bite. Age didn't make me useless. It made me tough. Fear kept me up that night. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every shadow, a threat. I double-checked the locks, pinged Elena to confirm Tommy was okay. But as I lay there, thoughts racing, what if they come for him? For me, they shifted. Fear hardened into resolve. I'd shield that boy, expose their rot. Alexander's confession cut deep, my son drowning in debt, too weak to break free. Victoria. She was venom, repeating her dad's sins like a choice, not a curse. I hated her for it, that calculated evil. But me, I'd play smarter. Then Clara texted, "Checked those holdings. That quay then ties to some shady outfits, maybe low-level mob stuff for laundering. Watch your back, this is bigger than family. My blood ran cold. Mob ties. What the hell had Victoria pulled us into? I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, knowing tomorrow meant lawyering up. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was about staying alive. Clara's warning about Victoria's shady ties kept me awake staring at the ceiling like it might spill secrets. Bigger than family, she'd said. What did that mean? Were we just talking fraud? Or was Victoria tangled with people who do worse than send creepy texts? My mind raced guys in dark cars showing up not just for me, but for Tommy. Fear twisted my gut, but so did that stubborn fire. Can't fight this alone, I muttered, rubbing my eyes. Time to bring in the big guns. Clara had dropped a name, Rebecca, an elder law attorney who'd helped her dad's case. She's tough, but fair, Clara said. I called her first thing, voice shaky, as I sketched out the mess. She didn't brush me off. Come in today, Johnny, she said. No nonsense. We'll sort it out. Her tone was like a steady hand on the wheel, and it calmed my nerves. I met Rebecca at her downtown office, a cramped space stacked with files, a coffee pot, brewing something that smelled like tar. She was mid-40s, sharp eyes behind wire glasses, the kind who'd seen enough BS to cut through it fast. Sit, Johnny. Lay it all out. I spilled everything, the party lie, the threats, Ethan's dirt on Victoria's past, those checks to her old name. But she wanted the why, my drive. So I dug deep, voice-catching, as I told her about selling the house after Sarah died, working through a busted back from that forklift crash, all for Alexander's dreams. I taught him with an old kite, I said, throat tight. Fly high, but don't forget your roots. Now he's erased me. Rebecca nodded, her face softening just a hair. I get it, she said. My mom got fleeced by a friend, lost her savings, her trust. It's not just cash, it's betrayal. That shared pain hit hard, like finding someone who'd walked your road. Her motive was clear, fighting for folks like me. No fluff, just justice. She started building the case right there, scribbling notes, then called Laura, an assistant DA she trusted. This reeks of elder abuse and fraud, Rebecca said over speaker. Laura's voice came through crisp and all business. If the evidence holds, we're moving fast. A team was forming, and for once I wasn't swinging alone. Ethan didn't let up either. He texted that afternoon attaching emails from Alexander's firm. Company money funneled to ST Holdings, he explained when I called. Looks like support for you, but it's a wash paying debts, hiding luxury buys. His voice wavered. Quitting hadn't erased his fear, but spilling this. It was his shot at redemption driven by guilt and grit. Elena stepped up too, sending a signed statement despite her nerves. I'm terrified, Mr. Hale, she admitted over the phone, voice low. If they fire me, my kids are screwed. But those papers I saw burning, it's wrong. I swore again to keep her safe, feeling her struggle doing right while risking everything. Victoria's shadow loomed, squeezing anyone who dared cross her cold as a corporate hitman. Then came a jolt, digging with Rebecca. We traced those ST Holdings transfers to sketchy outfits, small-time mob types running shell companies to clean dirty cash. Tied to her old scams, Rebecca said, squinting at her laptop. This isn't just family lies. It's linked to organized players' debts. Maybe worse. My stomach dropped. Were those cars outside just her goons or something uglier? The danger felt bigger, like a storm cloud growing teeth. Victoria wasn't just a schemer. She was neck-deep in a world that didn't play nice, her cold ambition dragging us all into the mud. A lifeline cut through the dread, Elena texted again. Tommy slipped me this video. He's okay, but Sneaky heard his parents fighting. The clip was shaky, recorded through a cracked door. The old man's digging too deep. Victoria hissed, her voice sharp as a blade. If this blows, I'm out. Take the cash and run. Alexander mumbled, We can fix it. What about Tommy? He'll deal, she snapped. If it comes to it, you're holding the bag. My blood boiled. She was ready to ditch him cold as a business deal, no care for her own son. Tommy's note came with it. Grandpa, I heard this. Scary, but I trust you. At 13, he was braver than his dad, risking it to help me through Elena. His courage hit me like a warm wave. But so did terror. What kind of mother uses her kid as a shield? Victoria's motive was pure self-preservation. No room for family, just save herself at any cost. That video lit a fire. Rebecca pointed me to a support group, folks burned by family scams meeting in a church basement. First visit, I felt like a fish out of water, hands rough from mops. But their stories broke me open. Widows losing pensions, dads conned by kids. I'm no leader, I told them, but by the third meeting I was sharing tricks, notebooks, photos, never go solo. They listened, one guy clapping my shoulder. You're giving us a playbook, Johnny. Leading even at my age felt like proof I wasn't done. It wasn't about ego. It was about showing others they could fight back too. The hurt still stung Alexander's confession, his broken look, but it was shifting to confidence. Nights I'd think of that kite fly high, but don't lose your roots. They'd lost theirs. I'd make them face it. This wasn't just revenge. It was reclaiming my name, my dignity. Victoria's web, I'd tear it apart. Then, Rebecca called Laura's, got the warrants ready, house and office raids tomorrow. Stay low. This could get dicey. My heart raced. Justice was closing in. But Tommy's safety gnawed at me. What if they hit back? Hope burned brighter, though the truth was coming and I'd make sure it landed hard. That call from Rebecca came before dawn, jarring me awake like a fire alarm. It's go time, Johnny, she said, her voice calm but edged with urgency. Search warrants are out. Teams are hitting Alexander's house and office right now. Stay put. Laura's got updates coming. My heart did a somersault. Finally the hammer was dropping. But worry for Tommy clawed at me like a bad itch. What about the kid? I asked, voice tight. Elena's watching him, she said. He's safe for now. I hung up, pacing my creaky apartment, the floor groaning under my boots. Hope sparked justice was knocking, but fear for my grandson dimmed it. That video he'd snuck his brave little note, I'm with you, kept looping in my head. At 13, he shouldn't be tangled in this mess, but Victoria's cold grip had dragged him in anyway. I couldn't just sit there twiddling my thumbs, so I flicked on the TV, half expecting to see news vans swarming. Nothing yet. So I texted Elena. Any word? Her reply pinged back fast. They're here. Doors busted, papers flying. I could see it in my mind's eye. Agents in vests tearing through that fancy house like a storm, flipping over every lie. Elena's updates kept coming, stacks of checks made out to S. Torres ledgers labeled Hail Support that were fake as a bad check spreadsheets, cooking the books to look like tax write-offs. Those forged ledgers hit hard rows, claiming thousands sent to me, but siphoned to offshore accounts and that condo. My stomach churned. This was cold, hard proof of their scam. Elena's next text cut deeper, Tommy's scared holed up in his room. Alexander's shouting, Victoria's ice cold. My chest ached for my son, his world crashing, but more for Tommy, caught in their crossfire. Elena's words trembled through the screen. She was risking her job, her kid's future, just to do what's right. Hang tight, I texted back. We've got you covered. Her motive was pure standing up, despite the fear while Victoria. She'd crush her like a bug to keep her secrets buried. Then the bombshell dropped. Laura called mid-morning, Alexander's talking, spilled everything about the gambling. My breath caught. He'd laid it bare, started with small bets online to blow off steam, but it spiraled into thousands owed to shady loan sharks. Victoria knew used it like a chokehold funneled company cash to cover his losses, masked as my support to dodge scrutiny. She called it a stopgap, he'd told them, voice-breaking in the transcript Laura read me. But the debts kept climbing casino's bad calls. I was stuck. His conflict was raw shame eating him alive, trapped between addiction and her control. I loved Dad, he'd said, but I was too weak to break free. Pity hit me like a wave. My boy, the dreamer I'd poured everything into, reduced to this mess. But Victoria? She'd weaponized his weakness cold as a bank vault, turning his addiction into her shield. Her motive was power, plain and simple. Keep him hooked, so he'd never turn on her empire. Laura added, "He's cooperating, might get a plea deal." I felt torn relief he was talking, but fury that it took handcuffs to force the truth. The real shock came from Elena's panicked call. She tried to torch it all. Victoria, cornered as agents swarmed, had grabbed a lighter and a pile of files in their home office. Ledgers, emails, everything, Elena whispered, voice shaking. I yelled, "Stop!" and knocked the lighter out of her hand. Agents busted in just in time. My pulse raced, picturing it. Victoria's face twisted, flames licking papers before Elena's bold move stopped her. She glared at me like I was trash, Elena said. "You'll pay for this," she hissed. That moment was pure adrenaline, Elena terrified, but standing her ground, driven by a need to do right. Victoria's snap, desperate, vicious, ready to burn her world down to save herself. The agents saved the files, more evidence of the wash, including ties to those low-rent mob types chasing Alexander's debts. "They're circling," Laura warned. "Those lenders used your fund to get paid off. Shady crews don't like exposure." My mind spun, was this just fraud or something uglier? The stakes felt higher, danger creeping closer. Rattled but fired up, I leaned into my posts. That anonymous one I'd thrown up was picking up Steam shares from folks who'd been screwed over. Comments like, "My sister pulled this on our dad. Keep fighting." I hunched over my kitchen table, laptop flickering, and hammered out another, no names, just, "When family claims they're helping, but the money's a ghost, demand receipts." First draft flopped, but I sharpened it short, punchy, and it caught fire. Strangers wrote, "You're our voice." It wasn't about clout. It was proof I could shake things up even from a beat-up apartment. Going viral at my age felt like sticking it to them, showing I wasn't out of the game. The hits kept coming, pity for Alexander's gambling spiral, his broken confession echoing my own sacrifices, but a hard resolve settling in. He was torn, sure, but he'd picked her over me. Victoria. Her attempt to burn the truth sealed it. She was poison, willing to torch lives to save her throne. Justice started feeling close, not just anger, but a real shot at making them pay. Then she went too far. Driving home from a quick store run, a truck roared out of nowhere, swerving so close it nearly shoved my Ford into a ditch. I slammed the brakes, heart pounding, skidding onto the shoulder. No crash, but damn near. My phone buzzed, unknown number. Next time we don't miss. Victoria's move, no doubt her cold math, turning to physical threats, marking me as disposable. Fear hit, but fury burned hotter. She'd crossed a line. This wasn't just a fight. It was war, and I was headed to court with everything I had. Rebecca's call about the warrants hit me like a shot of adrenaline, jolting me awake before the sun had a chance to blink. "It's go time, Johnny," she said, her voice calm, but with a razor's edge. "Search teams are hitting Alexander's house and office at dawn. Stay put. Laura's got updates coming." My heart pounded. Justice was finally kicking in the door. But Tommy's face kept flashing in my mind. That brave little note he'd slipped through Elena, "I'm with you." A 13-year-old shouldn't be stuck in this mess, and the thought of Victoria's claws reaching him had me pacing my creaky apartment, the floorboards groaning like they felt my dread. "Gotta keep it together," I muttered, rubbing my temples. The fight was getting real, and I had to be ready for whatever they'd throw next. I met Rebecca and Laura at Rebecca's office, a cluttered box of room papers stacked high, and a coffee pot giving off a burnt tar stink. Laura, the assistant DA, was all business, sharp eyes notepad, already scribbled to death. "We're building the indictment," she said, rattling off charges like she was reading a hit list. "Elder financial abuse, forgery, money laundering. Your evidence is solid, checks emails." Alexander's confession. "But your testimony." "Johnny, that's the soul of this." I nodded, throat tight, and spent hours practicing my story. The party lie, the empty bank account, Victoria's threats. My voice wobbled at first, hands sweaty, but Rebecca coached me through. "Just tell it like you're talking to a buddy at the bar," she said, flipping through files with a flick of her wrist. Her drive was clear justice for guys like me. No fluff, just results. Laura's was even sharper, nail the guilty, protect the vulnerable. No mercy. Me. I was caught in a tug-of-war. Part of me wanted to shield Alexander, the kid I'd raised on kites and dreams, but his betrayal cut too deep. He made his choice. I told myself, picturing that kite string fraying in the wind. Rehearsing those words, laying out the truth, felt like stacking bricks to block their lies. I wasn't just some old guy anymore. I was holding my own, proving I could stand tall under pressure. Then Victoria hit dirty, and this time it wasn't just words. I was driving home from the store, a bag of canned beans rattling beside me, when a pickup truck roared out of a side street, its tires screeching like a banshee. It swerved so close I could smell the rubber burning, forcing my Ford to fishtail onto the gravel shoulder. I slammed the brakes, heart-hammering gravel dust, choking the air. The truck peeled out taillights, fading, but it wasn't an accident too precise. My phone, already recording from habit, caught my ragged gasps. Son of a bitch. Then it buzzed, unknown number. Back off, or we don't miss next time. Victoria's move, no doubt her cold math, turning to straight-up violence, marking me as expendable. I outsmarted it by pulling into a packed gas station, lights, blazing, folks milling around, safe for now. Fear shook me, hands trembling on the wheel, but fury burned hotter. She wasn't just protecting her empire. She was ready to run me down to keep it. Her motive screamed panic control, slipping, lashing out to crush anyone in her way. I hated her for it, that heartless streak that didn't care who got hurt. But Elena's text pulled me back from the edge. "Tommy got you another one," she wrote. Kids Sharp heard more. Attached was a shaky voice clip recorded through a bedroom door, Victoria's voice sharp as a knife. "The old man's digging too deep," she hissed. "If this blows, I'm gone. Cash is stashed. The lenders'll cover me." Alexander sounded weak. "What about Tommy?" "He'll survive," she snapped. "Those mob boys, they'll chew you up if I don't pay." My blood ran cold. She wasn't just laundering. She was tied to crooks, bankrolling her schemes using Alexander's debts as leverage. A short flashback hit me, Victoria, as a young girl, her dad promising a new life, while draining their savings, leaving her hardened. Now she was repeating his sins, choosing the dark path for power, not survival. Tommy's note came with the clip, "Grandpa Mom's planning to run. I'm scared, but trust you." That 13-year-old's guts floored me, risking so much to help through Elena. His courage turned my fear into fire. I'd protect him, no matter what. Victoria's coldness was a gut punch, willing to ditch her own son to save herself no trace of love. Her motive was pure self-preservation, a snake shedding its skin to slither away. That clip pushed me harder into the support group Rebecca had pointed me to. It was a mix of folks in a church basement, widows fleeced by kids, retirees, burned by friends. I felt out of place at first hands, rough from mops, but their stories cracked me open. I'm no big shot, I told them, but I shared my playbook notebook's photos, record it all. By the third meeting, they were jotting notes, a woman whispering, "You're lighting a path, Johnny." Leading them even a little proved I wasn't done at my age. Grit, not suits, made the difference. It wasn't about me anymore. It was for them, for Tommy, for every soul used as a prop. The hurt still stung Alexander's gambling, his broken voice saying he loved me but couldn't break free. I'd see that kite in my mind, the string fraying, and wake up fighting a lump in my throat. Fly high, but don't lose your roots, I'd taught him. He'd lost them buried by Victoria's ambition. But that pain was shifting to a calm strength. This wasn't revenge. It was justice making sure their lies couldn't hide anymore. Victoria's stunt nearly running me off the road only sharpened my edge. She'd pay not with my anger, but with the truth. Then late that night, my phone lit up with a message from a stranger. "Read your post." "Johnny, my sister pulled the same scam, claimed support for our dad, kept it all. You're giving us courage." Another followed. "My mom lost her pension to her son-in-law. Your fight's ours." My jaw dropped. My words were hitting people strangers burned by the same betrayal. The stakes grew heavier, but so did the fire. Fear for Tommy lingered, but hope for justice burned brighter. Court was coming, and what would Victoria pull when the gavel dropped? Those messages from strangers lit a fire in me like I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. My posts had struck a chord. Folks out there burned by their own families were rooting for me. But Rebecca's warning about the raids and that near miss with the truck kept me on edge. Court's coming, she'd said, but Victoria's not done. I could feel it, the storm was peaking, and Tommy was still in the crosshairs. I'd practiced my testimony until my throat was raw, but words alone wouldn't cut it. I needed to face them where it all started, the spotlight. Word got around about an investor dinner at the same ritzy country club from that Christmas lie. "You're not invited?" Rebecca warned, "but if you go, be smart." Smart hell. I was done playing quiet. I borrowed Pete's suit again, still too big, but it'd do, and headed out heart-pounding like a drum. "Time to cut the string," I muttered, thinking of that old kite frayed and gone. The club was decked out in navy and gold chandeliers sparkling like they were mocking me. The air reeked of champagne and money, same as before. Investors in sharp suits and glittering dresses mingled their laughs, sharp and practiced. I slipped in through a side door, blending with the servers. Nobody looks twice at a guy with calloused hands in a borrowed jacket. Clara was there, posing as a caterer's helper, her red glasses tucked away, but her nod steady. "Got your back, Johnny." I'd looped her in, knowing I'd need eyes in the crowd. My phone was loaded. Tommy's video, Ethan's emails, that check to S. Torres, and I gripped it like a lifeline. Alexander stood near the stage, working the room with that polished grin, but his eyes darted nervous like he sensed the air shifting. Victoria glided through black dress, sharp as a blade, whispering to bigwigs with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. Her motive screamed control. Keep the investors happy. Keep the lies alive. But me, I was here to burn it down. When the club manager tapped the mic for speeches, I saw my shot. Heart hammering, I stepped to the stage, cutting off Alexander mid-sentence. "Mind if I say a few words?" I asked, voice steady, despite the sweat on my palms. The manager blinked, unsure, but handed me the mic. Nobody expects an old guy to crash a party like this. The room went quiet, all eyes on me, the nobody in the baggy suit. "I'm Jonathan Hale. I started Alexander's dad. Last time I stood here, he told you he gives me $8,000 a month to live like a king. Truth is, I eat canned beans, mop floors at midnight, and drive a Ford that's more rust than car." Gasps rippled. Forks clinked against plates. I held up my phone, hitting play on Tommy's video. Victoria's voice crackled through. "The old man's digging too deep. If this blows, I'm gone. Cash is stashed." The room froze. I flashed Ethan's email on a projector. Clara had rigged checks to S. Torres labeled Hale Support, but funneled to condos and debts. Chaos erupted, murmurs, phones out, investors whispering. Alexander's face went white. Victoria's smile vanished, her eyes narrowing like a cornered cat. My voice didn't shake. "I'm not accusing for kicks. Show me the money you claim. I get bank records, not promises." The crowd stirred, some nodding. Others staring at Victoria like they were seeing her for the first time. I felt it, years of being invisible flipped on its head. This wasn't just a speech. It was me proving my voice could shake their world. Then Victoria bolted, clutching a USB drive, her heels clicking as she darted for a side haul. "Not so fast," I growled, instincts kicking in. I took off after her, heart racing, Clara tailing close. The hallway was dim, lined with plush carpet, and locked doors, the air thick with her perfume. Johnny left. Clara hissed, pointing to a service exit. I cut through a stairwell, guessing her path. Years of navigating warehouses gave me an edge. I blocked the exit just as she reached it, her face twisted in panic. "Give it up, Victoria," I said, breathing hard. She shoved me hard enough to make me stumble, my shoulders slamming into the wall. "You're done, old man," she spat, but Clara grabbed her arm, stalling her. "Drop it!" Clara snapped, and the USB fell skittering across the floor. I snatched it, hands steady despite the ache. Victoria's eyes burned pure desperation. Her motive clear: save herself, screw everyone else. The USB later. Laura confirmed it held plans to flee with laundered cash tied to those mob types, her escape hatch, if the empire fell. My pulse pounded. This wasn't just fraud. She was ready to run, leaving even Alexander in the dust. Back in the ballroom, the crowd was buzzing, phones recording. Alexander climbed the stage, hands shaking, voice cracking. I messed up," he stammered. "The gambling, the lies. It wasn't supposed to hurt Dad. Victoria pushed it, but I let her." His confession hit me like a gut punch. Pity for the boy I'd raised, tangled in debts, and her web, but fury for the man who'd chosen her over me. Tommy's video played again, looped by Clara, and Alexander's head dropped, tears hitting the floor. His motive was torn, love for me drowned by weakness, addiction, her control. The crowd's mood shifted. Investors muttered about pulling funds, their applause from Christmas long gone. Victoria stood frozen, her cold mask shattered, no words left to spin. My heart raced, not from fear but from something new, satisfaction sweet and sharp. I'd been nobody. Now my voice had torn their stage apart. Clara tugged my sleeve, whispering, "Cops are outside Laura's orders." The room felt electric chaos, ready to spill over. I looked at Alexander, his face crumpled like the kid who'd lost his kite. "You cut the string, son," I said under my breath, the memory of our field days stinging. Victoria's glare met mine one last time, pure venom, but cornered. I'd done it not with fists, but with truth, proving a working man's grit could outshine their lies. As sirens wailed closer, I knew this wasn't the end. Court was next, and the whole damn world was watching now. The chaos at that investor dinner still buzzed in my head, like a swarm of bees, but it was nothing compared to the courtroom's weight. I'd crashed their stage, spilled the truth, and watched Victoria's empire crack under the spotlight. Now the real fight was here, suits, gavels, and all. Laura had warned me. "This is where it gets heavy, Johnny." My hands shook as I slipped into Pete's borrowed suit again, the sleeves still hanging too long, but I squared my shoulders. "Time to cut the string for good," I muttered, thinking of that old kite frayed and gone. The memory of Tommy's brave video, Grandpa. I trust you and Clara's grip on my arm at the dinner kept me grounded. This wasn't just for me anymore. It was for every soul those strangers' messages had brought to life. The courtroom smelled like polished wood and old paper, the kind of place that demands you sit up straight. Laura stood at the prosecution table, her face all business, flipping through files with a precision that calmed my nerves. Rebecca sat beside me, whispering, "Just tell your story, like you told me. Raw, real." The jury looked like regular folks. Teachers, mechanics, maybe a nurse, eyes steady waiting. Alexander was there, suit crisp, but face pale, eyes darting like a trapped animal. Victoria sat ramrod straight, her black dress sharp as ever, but her cool mask was slipping a flicker of panic in her gaze. Their motives were clear, Alexander torn by guilt, but chained to his debts. Victoria fighting to save her skin cold as ever. Me, I was here for the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Laura laid it out like a roadmap. She showed the jury the forged signatures, my name scrawled wrong, the last letter flat when I always lift the pen. "Not Jonathan's hand," she said, pointing to bank records. Ethan's emails flashed on a screen detailing the Hale support scam, money funneled to condos, and Alexander's debts. Not me. Tommy's video played next, his shaky footage of Victoria's voice, the old man's digging too deep. Gasps rippled through the jury. Elena's statement, read aloud, confirmed the checks to S. Torres. Her voice steady despite her fear. I saw her burn papers to hide it. Her bravery, risking her kid's future for right, made my chest tighten with pride. The evidence piled up like bricks, each one heavier, proving their lies weren't just family drama, but a calculated crime. Laura's drive was relentless justice, no mercy. The jury leaned forward, faces locked in. Then came the twist. Victoria's lawyer stood voice smooth, announcing she'd testify to clarify. She took the stand, cool as ice, and threw Alexander under the bus. He insisted on the setup, she said, eyes flicking to him. The gambling debts forced his hand. I just followed orders. Alexander's jaw dropped, his face crumpling like a kid caught stealing. The betrayal stung her motive, screaming self-preservation, ready to ditch her own husband to dodge the fall. The jury shifted, murmuring. Even they smelled her cold calculation. Laura pounced. "You created the Hale support label, didn't you? And those transfers to S. Torres, your maiden name?" Victoria faltered, admitting, "I manage details, but for the family." Her voice cracked, but no tears, just a cornered animal playing innocent. Laura dropped the bomb, and the offshore accounts linked to known money launderers. The courtroom froze. Those mob ties we'd sniffed out. They weren't small-time. Victoria's old scams tied to a bigger fraud ring laundering through shell companies across states. The jury's eyes widened. This wasn't just family lies. It was organized crime. Victoria's mask shattered her motive, laid bare power and escape, no matter who she burned. When my turn came, I walked to the stand, knees wobbly, but voice steady. Laura had drilled me, just be you. So I was. I'm Jonathan Hale. I started a warehouse cleaner, grocery stocker, scraping by on beans and a busted Ford. My son said he gave me $8,000 a month to live large. Never saw a dime. I told them about the party, the shame, the threats, texts, calls, that truck, nearly running me off the road. I described the kite days, was teaching Alexander to fly high, but keep your roots, my voice catching as I admitted I gave everything for him, and he let her use me as a prop. The jury watched, some nodding, others scribbling. Alexander wouldn't meet my eyes. Victoria's stare was cold, like I was a bug she'd squash. Their lawyers tried to trip me up. Did you ever take money from your son? Sure, a Christmas check here and there, but nothing like their lies. You resent him, don't you? They pushed. I resent being erased, I shot back. Show me the deposits and I'll eat my words. The room went quiet, my calm proving I wasn't some bitter old man, just a dad, demanding truth. Standing there, I felt a dignity hard-earned, not from a suit, but from years of grit. The defense scrambled. Alexander's lawyer painted him as a victim of debts, Victoria's as a wife following orders. But Laura closed with steel. This isn't confusion. It's a pattern. Forged signatures, fake ledgers, mob-tied accounts. They used a father's name to steal. The jury vanished, to deliberate, leaving us in a tense limbo. I sat with Rebecca, heart racing, picturing Tommy safe with Elena. Hours dragged like days, but when the buzzer sounded, we filed back in. The foreman stood voice flat. Guilty elder, financial abuse, forgery, money laundering, conspiracy. Alexander got 18 years, Victoria longer 22 for orchestrating it all, and those mob ties. The gavel hit, and relief washed over me, sweet but heavy. Alexander stared at the floor, broken. Victoria's face was stone, no tears, just defeat. Their motives, his weakness, her ruthless ambition, had built their own cage. I felt light, like a weight I'd carried for years had lifted, but heavy too, my son gone to prison. As we left, Laura squeezed my arm. You did good, Johnny. But walking out, that kite memory hit again, Alexander's laugh in the wind, now silenced. Satisfaction tasted sweet, but it came with a bitter chaser family torn apart. I'd won, but at what cost? Outside, Clara was waiting, her nod saying it all. It's not over, she said. People are talking your posts, the trial. My phone buzzed, a flood of messages from strangers. My dad was used like you. Thank you for speaking. Another. You gave me courage to check my mom's accounts. My fight had sparked something bigger, a wave I hadn't seen coming. But as I stood there, the courthouse looming behind me, I felt a pang. Tommy, Alexander, the family we'd been. Justice was done, but the ache lingered. What came next? Change, maybe, but it wouldn't erase the past. The courtroom verdict hit like a gavel on my heart, relief so heavy it almost crushed me, mixed with an ache that wouldn't quit. Alexander got 18 years, Victoria 22 for masterminding it all, her mob ties sealing her fate. Walking out, those strangers' messages echoed, "You gave us courage." My fight had cracked something open, but the cost was real. My son, my family, broken. Clara's nod outside the courthouse said it all. You did it, Johnny. But as I climbed into my rattling Ford, the old kite memory stung Alexander's laugh in the wind, now locked behind bars. Justice tasted sweet, but it came with a bitter aftertaste. I wasn't done yet. The next steps were about picking up the pieces. A few weeks later, the civil case wrapped. The settlement check wasn't a fortune, but it was enough rent heat. A car that didn't cough its way to the store. I moved out of my shoebox apartment to a small place with actual sunlight. A view of downtown Dallas, twinkling at night like a promise kept. I quit the warehouse first, then the grocery store, my back thanking me every morning I didn't wake up aching. Elena worked her magic helping Tommy move in with me. His parents gone, he needed stability. At 13, he was quiet, but tough eyes like his dad's when we flew kites years ago. "You're safe here, kid," I told him, ruffling his hair. He nodded, but I saw the weight he carried: his mom's betrayal, his dad's fall. Elena's motive was pure: protect Tommy. Keep family real, even if it meant risking her own job. "He's got you now," she said, voice soft but steady. Me, I was driven to give him the roots I'd once given his dad, hoping they'd hold this time. Then came a twist I didn't see coming. I sat down one night, pen in hand, and wrote Alexander a letter. "Son," I started, "I love you, always will. You fell hard, but I forgive you, not all the way, but enough to hope you find your way." I mailed it to the prison, no return address. Forgiving wasn't easy. It was like letting go of a rope that had burned my hands raw. But Victoria, I couldn't even start. Her coldness, those threats using Tommy as a pawn, left no room for mercy. I refused her lawyer's request to visit, writing back one line, "No, my heart couldn't bridge that gap." Her motive was all venom, no redemption. Alexander's was different: weakness, not evil, tangled in her web. The letter was my way of cutting the string without burning it. One morning, Tommy shuffled into the kitchen holding something that stopped me cold. Alexander's old kite, tattered but whole, dug out of storage. "Found it in Dad's stuff," he said, voice small. "Thought you'd want it." My throat tightened, eyes stinging as I ran my fingers over the frayed string. It wasn't just fabric. It was hope. A flicker of the kid I'd raised, still there somewhere. Tommy's motive was simple: love, despite the mess trying to stitch us back together. That kite brought it all back: field days, laughter, roots I thought were gone. I hugged him tight, whispering, "We'll fly it soon, kid." It wasn't just a promise, it was a lifeline. My posts kept spreading, and the messages poured in. One hit hard. Johnny, my brother, claimed support for our mom, kept every cent. "Your story got me to a lawyer. Thank you." Another lost my pension to my son-in-law. "You showed me I'm not alone." My jaw dropped. My fight wasn't just mine anymore. It was rippling, sparking others to dig for their own truth. It wasn't fame. It was purpose-proof. My voice could move mountains even at 57. The support group grew too. I started speaking there, sharing my notebook tricks. Write it down. Snap photos, don't go quiet. Folks clapped, called me a leader. And damn if it didn't feel good. I wasn't some warehouse grunt anymore. I was building a legacy, one truth at a time. But the pain lingered: Alexander's fall, Tommy's quiet hurt. I'd lie awake, picturing that kite soaring, then crashing when the wind turned. "Fly high, don't lose your roots," I'd taught him. He'd lost them, and it cut deep. Yet standing up, speaking out, brought a calm I hadn't felt in years. Revenge. Nah, this was sweeter: justice, recognition, a life reclaimed. But it was bittersweet. Family didn't stitch back so easy. Tommy's smile helped, but the hole where Alexander should have been stayed raw. Then I took a chance. I drove to the prison one gray morning, not to talk, just to see him. Through the glass, Alexander looked older, eyes hollow but softer, like he'd shed some of that polished mask. I didn't go in, just watched from afar, my letter in his file somewhere. Forgiveness wasn't a hug. It was letting him know I still saw the boy, not just the man who'd failed me. I drove away, heart heavy, but lighter too, the kite in my back seat like a quiet promise. Back home, another message waited. Johnny, you inspired me to check my dad's accounts. Found fraud. We're fighting now. My fight was growing, and I wasn't alone. But as I looked at Tommy asleep with that kite nearby, I wondered, what's next for us? The truth had won, but the story wasn't over. The prison visit left me rattled, like I'd stirred up ghosts I wasn't ready to face. Seeing Alexander through that glass, hollow-eyed but softer, like a piece of the boy I'd raised, was still in there, stuck with me. The settlement money had changed things, a new place with sunlight, no more graveyard shifts, Tommy safe with me. But that kite Tommy dug out, tattered but whole, sat in the corner of our new home, a quiet reminder of what was and what wasn't anymore. I'd won justice, had landed Victoria locked up for 22 years, Alexander for 18. But the victory tasted bittersweet. Those messages from strangers kept coming, folks saying my fight gave them guts to face their own betrayals. It wasn't just my story now. It was bigger. Still, the ache lingered, and I knew it was time to close this chapter, to figure out what came next for me and Tommy. One crisp morning, I took Tommy to that old field where I'd flown kites with his dad. The sky was wide, the kind of blue that makes you feel small but hopeful. We patched up that tattered kite, Alexander's from years back, with duct tape and string, Tommy's hands steady as he worked. "Think it'll fly, Grandpa?" he asked, eyes bright but cautious, carrying the weight of his parents' fall. "Let's find out," I said, ruffling his hair. We ran the kite, catching the wind, soaring higher than I expected. Watching it dance, I felt a tug, hope new and fragile but real. Tommy laughed, a sound that cracked my heart open, and I let myself smile. But as the kite climbed, my mind drifted to Alexander, to those days when it was just us, the string taut between us. "Fly high, but don't lose your roots," I'd told him. He'd lost them, and the pain of that cut deep even now. I stood there watching Tommy hold the string and thought, this is my chance to get it right with him. My motive was simple. Give him the stability I'd tried to give his dad, roots to hold him steady no matter what. Back home, a letter waited in the mailbox, Victoria's handwriting, postmarked from prison. My hands froze as I opened it. "Johnny," she wrote, "I'm working with a counselor. I see what I did, used everyone, even Tommy, to save myself. Can you forgive me?" Her words sounded rehearsed, like a script she'd practiced, to sound human. I felt a flicker of pity. Her dad's betrayal had scarred her, sure, but no warmth. She'd chosen to repeat his sins, cold and calculated, dragging my family into her mess. Her motive, maybe regret now, but only because she'd lost. I sat at the kitchen table, pen in hand, and thought about writing back. Instead, I folded the letter, tucked it into a drawer. Forgiveness wasn't a switch I could flip. It was a field I'd visit someday from afar, but not today. I wouldn't reply. Silence was my answer, letting her sit with her own choices. The messages from others kept pouring in. "Johnny, your story got me to check my mom's accounts. Found fraud. We're fighting now," one read. Another, "My brother used our dad's name like you." Your posts gave me a spine. My jaw dropped. My words from a beat-up laptop in a run-down apartment were sparking change. It wasn't about being a hero. It was about showing folks they could demand the truth. I leaned into that, starting a support group with Rebecca's help. Folks like me, burned by family meeting in that same church basement. I'd share my tricks. Keep a notebook. Snap photos. Don't let shame win. They'd nod, some teary, calling me a leader. Me, a guy who'd mopped floors for years. Damn if it didn't feel good proving age and hard times didn't mean I was done. My legacy wasn't money or fame. It was this: helping others stand up, showing grit could outshine lies. But the quiet moments hurt. I'd sit with Tommy watching him draw or do homework and see Alexander's eyes in his. The kite memory haunted me, his laugh, the string taut, now cut. I'd won justice, sweet and hard-earned, but the cost was my son behind bars, my family fractured. Satisfaction felt like a warm meal after a long shift, but it came with a pang. Love didn't fix what was broken. I'd lay awake wrestling with it. Did I push too hard? Could I have saved him? But the truth was, Alexander had chosen his path, and Victoria had paved it with ice. My fight wasn't revenge. It was reclaiming my name, my dignity for me and Tommy. One night I stood at the window, the city lights blinking like stars. Tommy was asleep, the kite propped in the corner. I thought about those strangers' messages. The lives touched, the fights starting, because I spoke up. It hit me. My story wasn't just mine. It was changing things bit by bit, showing folks, especially older ones like me, that you don't have to stay invisible. Demand the truth. I'd tell them, check the paper behind the promises. Don't let shame keep you quiet. It was a call to arms rooted in the grind of my life: warehouse floors, canned beans, a busted Ford. That's what made it real, what made it matter. The bittersweet hung heavy. I'd visit that field in my mind, Alexander running Tommy now, and feel both full and empty. Justice had landed, but family didn't heal easy. I looked at Tommy's kite, and a quiet hope settled in. Maybe I could give him the roots his dad lost. But as I turned off the light, a new message blinked on my phone. Johnny, your group inspired my town to start one. Keep going. My fight was spreading and the world was listening. What came next, I didn't know, but I'd keep the door open for the light to do its work.